Before we kick this video off, I want to give a big shout out to the folks over at Reese, the manufacturers of the Goosebox, for sponsoring this video. Now, if you've watched my channel for some time, you'll realize that the Goosebox has been our go-to pin box replacement for some time. What it does is it converts from a traditional pin box to a gooseneck connection. So now you can use a small goose ball in the bed of your truck as opposed to a really heavy and clunky fifth wheel hitch. Now, when you consider the fact that this replaces a lot of equipment, it replaces the hitch in the bed of your truck, which accounts for about 200 pounds worth of weight, plus it replaces the traditional pin box, which is about 75 to 100 pounds worth of weight. Overall, you end up saving about 100 pounds worth of weight by switching to the Goosebox. They've been able to integrate an airbag with dual shocks as well as rubber bumpers to provide a multi-directional shock absorption system that gives you a much better towing experience. And I've yet to come across a user who's had a bad experience with the Goosebox. Reese also provides a lifetime warranty on this product, which is really nice. And it comes in two flavors. They have a 16,000 pound rated version as well as a 20,000 pound rated version. If you're interested in learning more about the Reese Goosebox, check out the description of this video where I have a link to where you can purchase it, as well as more information from Reese. All right, so while we're out here talking about the Goosebox, I want to answer some questions because as many videos as I've made on this product, I still get a ton of questions about it and if this is the best route to go. First of all, a lot of the questions I get center around a video that I made several years ago comparing the difference between a gooseneck conversion and a traditional kingpin or traditional pin box on a fifth wheel. And I want to be very clear, that video that I made years ago isn't comparing a traditional pin box to this setup. It's comparing a traditional pin box to a pin box that has a gooseneck adapter that's been attached to the bottom of it. So it's not a complete unit. You're essentially modifying the existing pin box on your RV to support a gooseneck connection. And that is not what this is. First of all, if you see this Duravolt solar panel that's magnetically attached to the top of it, this is aftermarket. This was added. This is certainly not something the folks at Reese offer as an OEM accessory to the Goosebox. So let's talk a little bit more about why this system works so well. First of all, again, it completely clears up everything out of the bed of your truck except for a small goose ball. And if you need to remove a goose ball, you're talking about something that weighs about 8 to 10 pounds. Super easy to pull out of the bed of your truck, or at least most trucks, by simply pulling a lever up or releasing a pin. And it's just such a simple process. If you've compared removing a goose ball to removing a fifth wheel hitch, you know the difference between the two. One weighs about 200 pounds and one weighs about 10 pounds. So it's a huge, huge difference in terms of the labor involved in getting your bed free and clear of any clutter if you need to haul things like lumber or, something large and flat in the bed of your truck. And something else you want to note is that the Goosebox is not compatible with every frame out there on the market. It's compatible with the most common frames from Lippert, but you are going to want to verify what frame you have and the wings right here to make sure that the Goosebox is compatible with the specific frame that you have. There are some newer fifth wheels that have essentially what's called a Rhino box up front, and the Rhino box, the way it mounts up here is different, and it is not compatible with the Goosebox currently. So the design behind the Goosebox is really what makes it nice. One thing that gives people a lot of peace of mind whenever they tow with the Reese Goosebox is the hitching process. Now, you do have to pay a little bit more attention because as you're backing up to your fifth wheel, unlike a fifth wheel hitch, you're not going to have the jaws that wrap around and then come to a sudden stop once they lock in place around a kingpin. On this, if your ball is down here and you're backing up, you could accidentally go directly over your ball and keep backing up into the front of your fifth wheel, which is something you definitely want to keep an eye on. So it's important for you to either have a spotter or just to check multiple times to make sure that you're directly above the goose ball and you haven't passed over it, because again, you don't want to run into the back of your fifth wheel. But that being said, once you are over the ball and you lower the Goosebox over the ball, this handle right here will go from a closed position, it'll swing back to an open position and then lock back over the ball, which is a really great coupling design because you know that you're hitched up. You don't even really need to perform a tug test because you know that once this opens and closes, the ball is inside the jaw here and it's not going to come out. And the only way to release it is by pulling this lever back to release it. Now, Some things I love about the second gen Goosebox is the fact that they addressed all the shortcomings of the first gen Goosebox. That being the fact that they put a lock right here, so the first generation did not have any way to lock your coupler in place. This one now has a lock, so you can lock your coupler either if it's over the back of your truck and hitched in place, or if it's in a storage facility and you just want to add that extra level of theft deterrent to your RV. So you can put a nice quality lock right there and you're in pretty good shape. They've also added some really nice chain holds right here, so you can easily take your chains and mount them up so they're not hanging underneath the fifth wheel, which is also really nice. Another thing they did was they changed the valve right here. So the Schrader valve right here doesn't have that overpressure relief to it anymore. So whenever you fill up your airbag, you don't have to worry about hitting a big bump and it knocking air out of your airbag, which is nice. You have your sight window right here. Whenever you're hitched up, that little flat piece of metal right there will actually be right in the center of this whenever you're perfectly aired up. So once you hitch up to the back of your truck, you inflate the airbag right here. When that little piece of metal is lined up right in the center of this hole, you're set up with the right amount of air, which is super cool. And then finally, and probably the most significant upgrade, is the wings right here. So on the first generation, the wing went up right here and then just went straight back. So this entire assembly was mounted up higher into the wings of your actual fifth wheel. But by extending the wings of the Goosebox up slightly, it gave you the ability to bring this down a little bit. So whenever you hitch up to your truck, you don't have to worry about that side bed height clearance that you used to have to worry about with the first generation. Basically on the first generation, unless you aired this up completely, or if you didn't have enough air in it, you could be too close between this part of your fifth wheel and the bed rail of your truck. But now, because they give you those extra tall wings right here, you have the ability to position this assembly down a little bit lower, so whenever you hitch up, you have plenty of room. And for those of you who don't want that much room, you can still raise this up even higher, and I can position this higher into the fifth wheel, so it gives me the perfect amount of space I need between this overhang and the bed rails of your truck. But yeah, this is the only gooseneck conversion to a fifth wheel that I'm aware of that is approved by Lippert, aside from their own that they produce for their new frames. So if you don't have that newer frame, then this is really your best option. If you do have the newer frame, then they make their own gooseneck type connector for it. It doesn't have any type of shock absorption in it. It almost looks like a horse trailer style gooseneck coupler. But what's nice about the Goosebox is the fact that you do get the two shocks right here. Plus you have an airbag and you have a rubber joust bushing inside of there that dampens everything and helps control some of that movement, vibration, and harshness that could transfer from the truck to the fifth wheel or from the fifth wheel to the truck. So that's the reason why I'm such a big fan of the Reese Goosebox. Again, I've used the first generation, which was a really cool product. It just lacked some of the features that I thought were important. But then shortly after that, they came out with the second generation. I think they did it based off of the feedback of my channel, which I really hope so, because it really addressed every point that I was concerned about. They came out with the second generation. We upgraded our chaparral to that. And when we got our new Brookstone, we did not take delivery of it until the Goosebox was installed. So this was something I wanted right off the bat, even before we hitched up to it and decided to take it home. Anyways, guys, very cool product. Absolutely love it. Again, there will be a link in the description of this video if this is something you're interested in. And just like any product that's expensive, you want to do your research. And what you'll find is that almost everybody who has the Reese Goosebox loves it. There's even a Facebook group about the Reese Goosebox, and you'll see just how happy people are with this product. I would not accept a sponsorship from a company who I specifically don't believe in. And that is one of those areas where if you guys have watched my channel for a while, you'll know that the Reese Goosebox has been our go-to product on the front of our fifth wheels. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.